What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another movie review. I'm Chase Lee, and the movie I'm going to take a look at right now is The Irishman. Now, this one comes from Netflix. It is directed by the one and only MCU Hayden, Martin Scorsese. Don't worry, Marty. I still love your movies. I still love MCU movies because you know what's crazy about that whole situation? You can love both, and it's okay to love both. But let's focus on The Irishman here. So this one tells the story of Frank the Irishman Sheeran as he is at the tail end of his life. He is super old. He is in an old folks home. He's just kind of wheeling around in his wheelchair. He's just doing his thing. But he's talking to us as the audience, and he's reminiscing on his life as a hitman. Now we get to see, from like the 50s up until recently in the early 90s, that he did all these things. We get to see certain jobs that he goes on, certain people that he works with, like Bobby Cannavale's character kills a bunch of people. And we see him in his home life with his wife and his daughters. And, the reason why Frank's kind of involvement as a hitman is so important is because maybe he was involved in the slaying of Jimmy Hoffa. Now, Jimmy Hoffa's death is very notorious in this country for sure. All these characters are based on real life people, and this is based on a book. But Jimmy Hoffa's death is notorious because I think to this day they still haven't found his body. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there in terms of who did it, where it's at. It's crazy some of the stuff you can hear out there. But Jimmy Hoffa was the president of the American Labor Union, and he was a part of the International Teamsters division of that. So very involved. He was super popular back in the day, but he was killed in 1975, so there's that. So based on real life people. So going into this movie, I'm biased. I love Martin Scorsese. I've been a huge fan of him ever since I saw Goodfellas at the ripe old age of 10, and really kind of opened up my world to that type of filmmaking. Then I, of course, watched his other films and his filmography, even going back to like Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Mean Streets, seeing his early work, and we're still watching his modern work right now with like Hugo, Wolf of Wall Street, Silence, and now this. The guy is in his 70s and he's still doing stuff. Crazy. And then I saw the trailer to this movie. It doesn't matter if the trailers to his movies are terrible. I'm still going to go see it. So my expectations are high. So I saw the movie. I love it. It's another great Scorsese film. And this film proves as to why he is one of the best. And he will go down as one of the best in film history. Not because of this movie, but just because he keeps knocking it out of the park. And this is just another example of that. Now, before I get into my review, I'm going to go ahead and say something that's going to make everyone's eyes roll, but that's okay because I'm human and human things happen. I had to start this film 3 times. No, not because the movie was boring, because I'm an old man and I think I had narcolepsy and I fell asleep 20 minutes in the first time, 40 minutes in the second time, and I started again a third time, and then I watched it all the way through. I'm just tired, guys. Life is hard sometimes. First world problems. But so I finally got through on the third try. And there's just, there's a lot to discuss. And I think the best way to break it down is, I'm going to start with the man himself, Martin Scorsese. Now, when you think of Scorsese, you think of his gangster films. He's synonymous with that. That's okay. But he has done other movies. But he is synonymous with gangster films. He proves once again that he can still make a gangster film. He hasn't done one in a while, but I think doing this one at this stage in his career is kind of important because this is more of a somber look into the world of hitmen. It's reflective. It is a little bit more quiet. It's actually kind of pulling from all of his previous movies, the kind of reflective quietness from Silence and the kind of look of The Departed and the kind of flow and energy of like Goodfellas and Casino. So it's like a mix of everything, and it's almost like the end cap of his career in terms of what he's learned as a director and how he's grown and how he views people at his stage in life. And I think taking this approach and having this man tell us about his life as a hitman, his home life, it's just, there's something kind of heartbreaking about it, because you can tell that deep down, even though he did things for his family, he had money and he was providing, deep down there was a lot of regret, especially with some of the kills that he may have done. His relationship with his daughter, there's just a lot of heartbreak there, and that's what makes this one a little bit more human than maybe his other gangster films, where those are highly entertaining and really fun to watch. These people, become greedy and become power hungry. There's that in Frank too, but at the same time, when we get to the end of his life, there's something kind of, I don't know, there's just something kind of heartbreaking about it. And I think taking this 3.5 hour long journey to get to that point where he has these regrets and he's trying to fix everything as best as he can with his daughters, it's hard to watch. And it makes it really just human. It's just a good human story, while incorporating some really entertaining moments when he was a hitman, and the kills were brutal. They were, visceral and raw, and it felt like, he was actually killing these people. And just the overall story of Frank, it just felt so epic and sweeping. And then when we got to those final moments at the end, you're just like, wow, what a journey. And that's what Scorsese's great at doing. He's good at creating a journey for the characters that we follow in his movies. And this is no different. This does feel a lot more epic because of the time frame, for sure. But I liked following Frank as a character, even though he was kind of a bad dude and killed a bunch of people. You can tell deep down he was just trying to do it for the people that he loved in his life, but maybe he did it the wrong way. And, some of the things that happened in his life forced him to be apart from other people in his life. And it's just really sad to watch. And so, speaking upon that, the relationship with his daughter is interesting, because a lot of people online are just like, Anna Paquin doesn't have that many lines in the movie. This is an outrage. I'm sorry. Did you watch the movie? There is a reason as to why she is silent. She is silent because she hates her father. The things that he did were brutal and disturbing. I would hate my father too if I was in that situation. There's a reason why she was quiet. As a kid, he would be a threatening presence. If she noticed something at a young age and tried to confront her dad about it, he would immediately shoot her down. And the older she got, the more confident she got in speaking up to her father, who was a notorious hitman at this point. She was scared, but the older that she got more confident. And when she had those few lines, they were powerful, because most of the time in the movie, she was quiet, she was reserved, she was bottling up so much anger, and you can see it in her face. There was pain there. There's a reason why she didn't say anything. And the power of her quietness is where it hits the most. So her having not that many lines is not the issue here. Watch the movie. The issue here is the broken relationship she has between her and her father. That's why she's quiet. And, it's just, I don't get those people, but that's whatever. That tangent's done. There's a reason why she's quiet, because that relationship is so fractured that that's all she can react with. It's just this seething anger inside of her. So, the relationship he has with his family is an interesting dynamic, and then everything that he has to do with being a hitman is also really, it's fun to watch. It's devastating. It's brutal. It's exhilarating. It's just exciting filmmaking to watch. So speaking of Anna Paquin, let's get into some of the acting. The acting all around here is fantastic. Some of the best Robert De Niro has been in years. Anna Paquin is also great. Joe Pesci, coming back after almost a 10-year-long hiatus, is also great as Buffalino. Russell Bufalino, really just kind of slipping back into being a gangster, and this is something completely different for him. This is not like a Goodfellas or Casino. It's very, like I said, very wise. It's almost like he's just a wise character. Like, you don't want to cross his path and you don't want to threaten him. Don't want to be on the wrong side of Bufalino, but he's a wise individual and he will be your friend and he will back you up. So definitely a different character, and I thought he delivered that well. But the standout for me is Al Pacino as Jimmy Hoffa. This is the best I've seen him in years. He gave it 120%. This guy was fully committed. And that's what I can say about the whole cast. They were fully committed. And that's what sold me on their actions, their emotions, their interactions, everything about this world that Scorsese created and that these actors are playing in. They sold it to me because they were so committed in their roles. I felt like I was watching Titans at the top of their game. That's how great it was. So the acting all around is fantastic. The music is great. The production design is really cool. It's really slick. And speaking of slick, Thelma Shoemaker. This woman is one of the best editors of all time. She has worked with Scorsese on most of his films. She knows how to edit a movie. And what's so great, because I recently watched The Wolf of Wall Street. That's a 3-hour long movie. This one's 30 minutes longer. And The Wolf of Wall Street felt like it was 20 minutes. This one, it's the same way. It takes its time in scenes. There's a lot of build-up, a lot of suspense, and a lot of scenes to kind of soak in versus like Wolf of Wall Street, where that thing's gunning at 1,000 miles per hour. This one takes its time with scenes, but it's still so well constructed that it feels like it's a short movie. And that is the power of editing. It's the rhythm of storytelling. When do you cut things fast? When do you cut things slow? How do you transition from scene to scene? What shot do you use to convey this certain emotion? There's so many things working inside of her mind when she's editing these movies that it just clicks for her. And it just makes me want to talk with her and just get inside of her head a little bit because she is so good at what she does. Editing a movie is about rhythm. It's about emotion. It's about control, intensity, quietness. It's everything. And she just delivered it in spades with a 3.5 hour long movie. It's just, she's one of the best. It's crazy how good of an editor she is. And she delivers that in spades with this movie. Because it's really hard to go back and forth between the past and the present without making it seem sloppy or making it seem like it's just not transitioning well. But she does it so fluidly that you forget sometimes that you're watching a movie that keeps going back and forth. But when you see the de-aging effects and stuff, you're like, okay, yeah, that's younger one, older one. But it's just because you're so into the story that when she edits this thing from start to finish, that you're just in it. You're not paying attention to that stuff. Speaking of not paying attention to stuff and not really being bothersome, is the de-aging. I was really worried about the de-aging effects in this movie, but lo and behold, it's actually not as distracting as I thought it'd be. Because in the trailer, I was like, I don't know about that, but they managed to pull it off. I thought the best was probably Al Pacino as Jimmy Hoffa, like younger Jimmy Hoffa. Joe Pesci's and Robert De Niro's de-aging all looks great. But I think the de-aging on Al Pacino, just after a while, you don't even notice it anymore. And you just see them as their characters in that decade and nothing more. And that is really awesome. That is a great way to use special effects, is to blend it in with the actual environment that you shot in and make it seem seamless. And so the effects in this one are really they're just there. You notice them at first, but then it slowly just escapes your mind. You're just enjoying the movie at that point. Guys, this is a great movie. It's an epic movie. It's a great human story. It's exciting. It's intriguing. It's got some really great filmmaking in it. The cinematography is great as usual. It's edited super finely, is directed with such confidence, and the commitment from the actors is really just palpable, and just you get into it. Just, I don't know, man. It's just Scorsese just makes great movies. I'm going to give The Irishman an A. So, what did you guys think of this movie? Sorry for the long review, but there was just a lot to talk about. But let me know down below what you thought of The Irishman and all that jazz. Please like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel to get up-to-dates on new reviews and anything I review, and hope that you guys like my style of review. But that will do it for this review, guys, and tune in next time for whatever I review next. I'm Chase Lee, and I will see you guys later.